Arg. Really? Jane. Colt. Did y'all really have to dig up my rose bush? Wow. And I even had big rocks on there just so y'all wouldn't dig it up or mess with it. Jane, just because you're pregnant doesn't mean you can get away with naughty things. Just because you're cute doesn't mean you get to get away with it either. Yeah, walk away. A couple of days ago, Justin had given me the news that the dogs had dug up my rose bush and it was laying on its side. What I didn't realize was it was on its side without any dirt or anything around the roots. And it wasn't until yesterday that I brought it inside. So the roots were pretty dried out, which kind of bums me out, but I think it might be okay. And as frustrating as it is that the dogs did that, it may actually be for the better. So why would the dogs dig up a rose bush? Well, there's nothing to a rose bush that would attract a dog, right? It wasn't the rose bush itself, it was what was buried underneath the rose bush. If you've been watching our channel for any length of time, you know that I hate waste and I try to figure out ways to use what would normally be considered waste whenever I'm planting things. So the dogs had killed a chicken one morning after a night where I forgot to close the chicken coop, and the dogs were still out when the chickens came out in the morning, and some of our hens decided to jump the fence over to the front part of the yard where the dogs roam freely, basically. Our dogs, not random dogs. Except for those neighbor dogs that came a couple times, but since our dogs got in a fight with them, they haven't been back. Anywho, I digress. So when that bird got killed, of course we didn't want to let the dogs finish having their way with that because we don't want them to learn that it's okay to kill chickens, because it's not. Those are our chickens. Anyway, so I set it aside for a few days and then I buried it under a rose bush whenever I planted the rose bush so that it would act as fertilizer, long-term fertilizer. Well, apparently Miss Jane has a really strong nose and decided she didn't care if that chicken was under a thorny rose bush. She didn't care if that chicken was buried deep under several heavy rocks. She found a way to move those rocks aside and dig it out. And by the time we realized where the chicken had come from, because we were afraid they killed another chicken that morning, the deed had already been done and the rose bush was on the ground. So, as frustrating as that is, it may actually be for the best, and let me show you why. This is why. That particular rose, I think, was a bare root rose. It was in a package and there was sawdust packed around it. And I guess I assumed that sawdust was there as kind of like a compost until the roots reached into the dirt that you bury it in. However, since the dogs have unearthed this and I saw what the roots actually look like, it looks more like the bare root roses I've been seeing on YouTube. So I probably planted this wrong, which means I planted my Mr. Lincoln rose bush out there wrong, and the two rose bushes at my grandmother's house wrong. So if my Mr. Lincoln doesn't start greening up soon, and if my grandmother's roses look like they're struggling, well, the bushes at least, then I probably will have to dig up those three bushes as well and replant them so that the dirt is in direct contact with the roots. And I may need to do that anyway. If you know for sure, please feel free to comment below and say, hey Simber, you silly. Yes, you have to put the dirt directly in contact with the roots. You move that the wood chips away. That's just for filler until you get it in the ground. I guess that's what I get for assuming, but that's what I assumed. So even experienced farm girls and homesteaders make mistakes too when it's something new that they aren't familiar with. So I've got this one right here in some water. I'll probably plant it tomorrow morning. That's what I'm hoping, but we shall see, because we have a massage appointment in the afternoon about an hour or more away. So there may not be enough hours in the morning to do all of that. So here is my Mr. Lincoln rose, and right now it's looking okay. Those leaves are coming out, but they probably were going to because they were already starting to leaf out to begin with. So that's not necessarily indicative that they're planted well enough that they'll make it just fine. I'll need to keep an eye out over the next couple of weeks to see if I do in fact need to pull them up to replant them, so that the dirt is in direct contact with the roots instead of them working their way through those wood chips, about 1.5 inches thick maybe, wood chips around the base of those roots. Oh well. Either way, I'm hoping for some good roses either this year or next. Miss Jane, I am a little irritated that you ducked that up, but thank you for showing me that maybe I need to fix something that I didn't do quite right. See the girl. Y'all have a blessed day, and we'll talk to you next time.
Watching the video, push the thumbs up to like the video. Also hit that subscribe button, also the bell, so that you can get notifications when our videos come out.
Check us out on our social media pages too. The links are below. Bye y'all.
Bye.